Which
so
is
if
why
you don't breastfeed, you're ready to have another baby?
for sure earlier,
Okay.
a lot
if
earlier.
O was on formula,
Yes,
you'd be pregnant now.
yes, with the way that we do it, yes.
Okay, so
don't tell her, show her.
life is all about experiences.
How come the baby doesn't cry?
The craziest part.
She is her happiest.
We have come loaded. The Modern Parenting Podcast. We're proud parents. Welcome back to another episode here inside of the Modern Parents Podcast. My name is Linh. I am your host, and I have my beautiful, beautiful wife, Keri, who is going to be our co-host. Keri, how are you?
Partner in lockdown.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
Fantastic. It's a little bit awkward.
We just saw each other like 15 minutes ago, so not much has changed.
Not much has changed at all, but we're here in episode 4 and we want to discuss.
We have some topics to talk about.
Yes. What are they today?
Last week you mentioned something at the very end of our conversation, which leads in really nicely to today's topics of the struggles that we have as man and woman.
That is correct. But first, before we begin, can we give my haircut some appreciation? This is like, look at that. I've got this little thing happening here.
Manscaped.
This little self-manscaped groomed thing happening here.
And also appreciation to Amazon, which delivered in half a day or something.
Ridiculous, right?
And when we don't live close to the depot or whatever, we live pretty far out.
We're very far out. Have you had your haircut?
No, I need one though.
But like we talked about last week on the podcast, women, you can't really tell.
Yeah, and hairdressers are charging a lot. I got a email the other day because the lockdown now has eased just a tiny little bit that we can see hairdressers, and they're like, and fair enough. I mean, lots of routes are probably
How
like.
much were they? How much were these?
Oh, they were saying please expect 2 to 3 times the amount that you would normally pay.
2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
2 to 3 times.
High demand.
I already think my haircut's already expensive enough. Like $60 for a cut on mine. So 2 to 3 times is looking at.
It's free now.
120 to 180. Look at this. But I got this little side thing happening. Wait, I'm on the wrong side. This little side thing happening because I realized that as it was getting cut, that line, the little fade was moving closer and closer and closer, and then it was going to move to this place where it was right in the center of my head. So we got some growth happening. This is actually a really interesting topic. This is called the drift and how things slowly over time drift.
Slowly but surely. He goes bold.
I'm not going bold, actually. I'm very unbold.
And fingers crossed it stays that way.
30 and unbold. So in today...
we're going to explore the role of a man, the role of a woman.
Yeah.
We'll start with the role of a man.
Well, yeah, we kind of want to, I kind of want to go in and I never really had a deep appreciation for parenthood like last year. If you were to ask me last year what I would have done with O, what I would have done as a parent, I'm like, I'm totally going to hire a nanny. I'm going to have a full-time chef. I'm going to have people in place to look after everything, and everything's going to be easy. Like, and all these people that are complaining, well, you're complaining for nothing. You always have a choice. And I think like a lot of my perspective
money
has
solves
changed.
all the problems, right? Because you can buy all these employees and...
Did she just say that? You can buy all these employees. You can hire these slaves to work. No, that's not what. That's really not the case. That's happened here with me, and I'm actually surprised myself.
What were your assumptions when I was pregnant and you're having these thoughts about, all right, so 2020 is going to look like this for me?
My assumptions was that you'd do all the work. My assumptions were that you would do all the work.
Great.
Like,
we're honest.
We're straight up.
What does all the work mean?
So the assumption that I had was, you'd take care of O and I would take care of business. I would handle my shit in business and you would take care of O, and that we were very clear on the lines and I as a man would be able to have her at the moments that a man has her in the morning, at nighttime, and then she's with mummy the rest of the day. That was kind of my notion that I went into it with.
That was like the moving picture that you were playing. You'd see her a little bit in the morning. You would then go to work.
Correct.
In your
in
your room.
I worked down in the room in the house, the end of the house.
Yep. And then you'd come back at the end of the day.
Correct.
Hang out with her.
Yes.
Ask me what developments she's had for the day.
Get the update.
Yep.
High five. Smash out the day. Life is easy. It obviously hasn't panned out that way because, number one, working from home is quite difficult when you have a family. Like, I find it really difficult because, number one, we're locked down. But number two, even if we weren't locked down and we were working from home, it's quite difficult because there are boundaries. Like when you wake up and I know that they're awake, so I try to get up earlier than them, and then I hear her and O get up at about 6:30. There's just this thing inside of me that wants to go out and say hello and play with O, because it's so much. There's so much life and it's so fun. Like, O's really fun. Like, she's a really, really fun child. We all have a lot of fun together as a family. And the biggest struggle that I'm finding right now is having the discipline to be able to have boundaries so that when I'm working, I get work done. And then when I'm playing, I'm actually playing with you guys and I'm focused and I'm present. Like, finding that balance. And then not going back to work, but then completely shutting you guys out. And then focusing on work and then getting into work. And then at times going, oh my God, I feel like procrastinating. Holy shit, I've only got an hour left. Oh my God. And then there's panic. Because right now, more than ever, time has become such a valuable thing and every second counts.
So you didn't assume that you would enjoy being a dad as much as you do.
No, I didn't.
And that a baby would actually be as fun as they are.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I really I think as a man, and I'm going to generalize here, but as a man, like I didn't really feel like a father until 3 months in, 4 months in, when she could actually look back at me and go, hey, like, you know, she's not a baby. She's not an infant, just in her little suit. She had a little suit that she would have a suit where she was just stretched out wide like this, and it was almost like a prisoner straitjacket that she had to help. But you know, when she could actually just acknowledge me and smile, and when she was receptive to understanding that, hey, I am a little different to mother. She still plays with my nipples, by the way. She tries to see if there's any milky out of them. And it's really funny.
Hilarious.
It's very cute. She sucks on them and nothing. She's quite very disappointed. But I think at about 3 months, it kicks in.
You're right. I think the science behind it is that the first trimester of being in the world, they call it a fourth trimester of pregnancy in a way for the baby, because the baby doesn't realize they're their own self. They still think that they're an extension of me, basically. Mm-hmm. So they don't realize, I never really got that when you. I never really got that when you said there's a fourth trimester.
There's a fourth trimester, and does she know that she's her own? I'm like, of course she's her own. Like, to me, like, you kept on going. Oh, I think she kind of she's figured out that she's her own body. And I never got it. And I think fatherhood didn't kick in. Like, fatherhood, being a dad, didn't kick in until about 3-4 months. When
she realized that she is her own?
Yes, when she was her own and she was responding to me, and we were having our own relationship. Prior to that, she's just with you.
Yep.
And I think there are a couple of, like, there are just some big struggles in the sense that because she's brought so much fun, joy to my life, and you know, she's the person that's not going to judge me. She's the person that I'm going to be crazy with, that I'm going to be fun. It's almost like a clean slate. You go into this brand new relationship and she's crazy, and I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't care about the past. She doesn't think about the future. She's not anxious. All she cares about now. And, you know, it's amazing because you go into this with another human being. It's a clean slate. You know, it's so pure. And so there aren't any stories of how she perceives me. You know, we were joking this morning where she was in the room and I was like, she was having so much fun in the room, and then Keri had to put her to bed. She was crying for a bit. She wasn't crying, but she was upset.
We call it meow meow.
She has a little meow meow. So
it's a little like a whinge.
Yeah, that's
it's not a cry.
Yeah,
it's just a little
yeah. It's a little bit of a whinge, and then but she moves on so quickly. Like, so she doesn't hold on to that, and that's great. That's just brought me. It's kind of activated something inside of me that has been, I used to like listen so much to people that would talk about your inner child, people that would talk about your inner spirit, people that would talk about, on all these airy fairy different topics of energy and connection and law of attraction, and it would all mingle together, and I was just like, this is just shit. I don't get it. I couldn't see
the power of now.
Yeah, like you'd have these guys like Eckhart Tolle, who I read his book earlier on in 2015, and I couldn't get it. It was like going into a brick wall. I didn't get it. And it's the saying that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. Like, you don't get things because you're not ready to receive them. I wasn't ready.
Who knew that a baby would be your teacher?
I know, right?
Of all things.
So I really think the struggles of being a parent or a father here is being able to work and focus on doing what I need to do as the producer, as the hunter, to be able to do that, and then at the same time come home and also be connected to you guys, not feel like I missed out. Because the resistance for me is going, I don't want to work so hard because I don't want to miss out. And there's two ends of the spectrum. So for me right now, I feel like, fuck, if I work on something, it better be important. Like, if I'm going to have a conversation to somebody, then it's time taken away from it's time taken away from you and the family, right? And for me, if the conversation sucks, I like my tolerance has gotten for dealing with crap a lot. Like, I don't tolerate dealing with crap. So, if I'm not feeling like this isn't going to be the best and most leveraged thing to do, I probably won't do it. If it's not the most highest use of my time, I won't do it. I am less tolerant of average inside of my business right now, because I don't want to have to do things twice, 3 times, 4 times again. So I think those are some of the changes that I've experienced in this. It's hard because I do want to be a really good father. Like, I don't want to outsource the caretaking to a nanny. I want to be there. At the same time, I also don't want to give up the growth of the business. I also want to be there. So, being able to spend 6 hours a day with you, and then being able to spend 5-6 hours on the business, and then having my time and then your time and then sleep, it requires a lot of discipline, it requires a lot of focus. And at times I find myself failing because I do 50-60%, and I know I need to be doing
50-60% in business,
in both. So let's say I've got 6 hours dedicated to UNO. I'm really there. Like, I ask myself, did I really use that 6 hours to its most? Did I milk? Did I squeeze the lemon? Did I squeeze the juice out of those 6 hours? And then I ask myself, oh my God, like, I've got 6 hours to work or 5 hours to work. Did I really squeeze the juice? And if I didn't, then because you don't get any more time, what you do get is was it effective use of the time?
So how do you know when you're effective and you've squeezed the lemon dry? And what do you do to try and create that environment for you where it's 100% on both?
It's crazy. I think the first thing is, we often joke because it takes me about 2 hours to boot myself up in the morning every day.
That's a fair awareness.
It's an operating. It takes me about 2 hours to get myself even ready for the day. And what I mean by ready is, I used to wake up And I used to pull out Facebook and I would jump on Facebook ads and I would start writing an ad and I'd be looking at the campaigns or I'd be into a funnel, and that led me on to a very reactive path. And this was 2015. This was a couple of years ago. And I would just do, and I was so good at doing, but I was never doing the most highest use thing of my time. I wasn't doing the most strategic thing. And the reasons why I could get away with that was because I had so much time, and yet I was so busy. And what that was really showing me was that it was showing me a laziness of planning and preparation. So, you know, when you ask, what does it take to squeeze out the juice to be present as a father and to work, the first thing is intentionally planning what you want to achieve this week and finding what needs to get done and nothing more. And it's really just setting clear outcomes for what needs to get done for the quarter, what needs to get done for the month, what needs to then get done for the week, then what needs to get done every day. And then it's using the daily plan that I have to make sure I put blocks in to get it done. The times that I feel like I don't get it done then comes down to an execution problem. Like it comes down to when I go into my room when I start writing, but I draw a blank. And I go, oh my God, like, fuck, I got 30 minutes to do this. Oh my God. And then it creates panic. And then it goes, oh my God, is Keri, you procrastinate? And then I'll start texting you. And you'll text me back. And then not before long, we're having this conversation, 30 minutes is done, and it's O time because she's awake. You know, and this can happen so quickly. And what happens is when this happens...
Wait, let's go back a little bit, because you say that you take 2 hours to boot up in the morning.
Yep.
What does that actually look like versus waking up with Facebook as the first thing that you check, or
waking up with
your
Slack
ads,
or Facebook or dealing with a fire that I need to put out? I think...
Because how do you find the 2 hours that you've taken to boot up, and people go in to be like, that's unproductive?
Yeah, correct. I would look at myself and go, that's really unproductive. I also know the consequences and the reasons why. The reasons why I spend so much time on myself and my thoughts, and I call it having a mental shower, right? But I didn't do this earlier on. Like a couple of years back, I wouldn't do this. I didn't think it was important. I thought it was a waste of time. And so what happens is, the analogy was, you know, I'd wake up, I'd get straight into the fires, I'd be in building a funnel, be on Slack, I'd be replying to clients, I'd be on Facebook ads. And what would happen was I would get to this point at the end of the week where I wouldn't be feeling right. I would be very volatile. And you and I would have a conversation and you would want to go out, because Keri would always ask me, hey, Lynn, like, what are we doing this weekend? That was the question that I hated the most, because I'm like, what do you mean, what are we doing? We're just doing the same thing that we've always been doing, which is the same thing, which is just waking up, working, hanging out with each other, being happy, going for a walk. But Keri didn't want that. She wanted something else. And so that question always brought on a bout of anxiety. Like every time you asked it, I was just like, oh, fuck. I would almost get defensive. What do you mean, what are we doing? We're doing what we did last week. What did we do last week? We're going out for brunch. Do you want brunch? Where do you want brunch? Okay, and Keri always, do you remember when you would always ask me for a plan? Like, what's the plan this weekend? You know, and I'm like, I have no goddamn plan. My plan is day by day. And because I didn't have a plan, and because I didn't actually boot up, I didn't boot up properly, I would do things, and there was this satisfaction of getting things done, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm winning. I'm doing so much. I'm plowing through so much work. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't actually get to the place that I actually wanted to be.
What was some of the work that you do? What kept you busy?
I could spend, like a couple of years ago, I could spend all day writing 12 ads and then feel like, and then go. And then do you remember like the days where I would just be on Facebook all day and then I'd be fixing one little headline?
Yes, that was what I remember. It was the one word that you would spend hours on.
Trying to optimize the headline to increase conversions.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I could do all that all day. And I told myself it was important because it is important, but it's not really that important. Like, is it something I'd focus on now? Absolutely not. It's not that important. But it's important at the time because I've got nothing else to do. Little did I realize that, but I had so much on. So I would just spend a phenomenal amount of time perfecting like little words inside of the funnel because everything to me was important, right? And I could spend all day writing ads, and I could spend all day looking at trying to gamify the system and do all these things that I thought was important to grow and to get clients online. Then I would go into a spiral because you'd ask me what we were doing for the weekend. And when I realized that I hadn't actually moved forward that week because I had spent so much time dicking around doing other stuff, I would go into panic mode with you in life. And then so I would quickly try to band-aid it by going, okay, we're going to go out for dinner tonight. And then if I took you out to brunch, then that was it. And then you know, I always felt like you kept wanting more. And I was like, I don't know what she wants. And it was because I wasn't there. I wasn't actually there for you emotionally to listen to because I was so caught up trying to figure out myself because I had so much time to be lazy. And because I had so much time and because there wasn't any boundaries, there wasn't there wasn't our sleep time, there wasn't rules in place. It was just, you know, we could kind of run our own thing and do things the way I want to do things, right? So,
and now fast forward this morning shower, the mental shower that you call it.
The mental shower is really getting myself ready to asking myself, okay, what would, number one, what are my thoughts that are on my mind right now? And journaling and reflecting about that. Anything that's, you know, I've become a lot more energetic or energetically feeling through my emotions, through my energy. And I don't start the day if I feel a little bit off. I want to make sure I get all my thoughts down on paper. What am I feeling? What are the subconscious thoughts that come up inside of my mind that I'm having? Because that's generally the first thing in the morning. It could be thoughts about money. It could be thoughts around scarcity. It could be thoughts around my employees. Could be thoughts that, you know, I was upset with you last night because of something that you did. All these thoughts that I have, if I'm not feeling right, I don't go into the day. So I want to resolve all of my thoughts and at least get them down on paper because I want to see them.
What have you found when you don't resolve it?
It's kind of like an unresolved fight with you where we kind of think like everything's okay.
Yeah.
But everything's not okay, and it doesn't allow me to feel the full experience of joy, happiness, and it doesn't allow me to feel like authentic, great, like in the zone. It doesn't allow me to enjoy the journey. Yeah. Actually, I think that's the most important key. It doesn't allow me to enjoy the journey. When I don't feel, then I shut off my emotions from everything. I become this person that just wants to get shit done and then arrive at a destination and not feel. And I've been so good at that, like prior to having O.
I think the team would also appreciate the fact that now that you've had O, you've gotten this mental shower and that the getting shit done guy doesn't take it out on them.
Correct. You know? I don't immediately go into my triggers and take it out on them. And I think that's something that I've definitely had to learn over time. It's to learn how to be a better leader. You know, you're not, I think you train to become a better leader. And nobody is born as a leader. You can build these characters over time. And unless you put yourself in that position, you never get to improve. And so number one, it's the mental shower. And then number two, it's figuring out what am I going to do today and playing this simulation in my mind. Because I've realized how important preparation, clarity is and planning is, I play this simulation in my mind and I ask myself, okay, what needs to get done today? What needs to happen today in order for it to be the most amazing day, the best day? What needs to happen with work? What needs to happen with you guys? What needs to happen with myself? And then I create a plan And then once I create the plan, I ask myself, okay, let's make an agreement with yourself. If you agree that to do the following, the 7 things on your list, will you give yourself permission to be happy? Like content, that's it. There's no going back. There's no adding more. This is a list. There's no going back and going, wait, but I can sit there and do more, because I was always in that mindset of I can always do more, right? And if you're always in that mindset of doing more, and there's always more to do, but you never actually appreciate, okay, that's what you could have done today and that's what you're willing to do today, and you don't make that agreement, I found that I never gave myself that almost permission to be happy with my progress, to go, you know what, I did what I did. I know I could have done more, but I'm really happy with where I'm at today. And sure, because you can always do more, and that's the false illusion. And what happens is then you feel guilty. Then you feel, shame that you're still behind. You're comparing yourself to where you should be and where you want to be. And you're like, oh, you feel all this guilt and shame about why aren't I along further? So
I definitely also see the other side of it, which is when you're content, you're way more present with us. And I know that I don't have anything to be tippy-toeing around, and that your energy is free-flowing.
I got my shit handled.
It's calm. Yeah.
And don't worry, I got my shit handled.
Exactly.
Like there's this moment, I think, as a man, where you either got your shit handled or you don't have your shit handled. Right? Like that's the definitive. Like the moment you become a man is the moment where you become a person that can handle your shit. And if you don't know what that means, then there's a very high chance that you haven't become a man, because when you become a man, you kind of get it. You kind of go, okay, I've got shit to handle. I've got shit to handle for Ocean. I've got shit to handle. Can you handle your shit? And there's moments in time where I don't handle my shit and you feel it. You go, dude, like, handle your fucking shit. Like, you're a mess in there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a mess in my mind. I'm a mess in my brain. We go on walks, and it's so funny because Keri and I actually go on walks, and she can feel me energy. I can't hide anything from her, because it's very funny to see how in tune we are right now. We can go for a walk and we're free flowing, but then when there's something on my mind and I haven't got my shit handled, she knows, and she's like, is there something up? And I'm like, no. She's like, whatever. And then when we get home, she's like, you'll be like, I knew there was something up, because the energetic flow between you and I and our thoughts are not there. It's not open. Yeah. And anytime it's shut, it's because my mind's switching off, or when I don't have my shit handled in business, when I'm worried about something, then I can't openly communicate to you. I'm trying to figure out solutions inside of my brain, and my brain as a man defaults to, fuck, I need to fix this right now. My brain defaults to this, why am I even walking? I should be at home working. There's this guilt. There's this guilt that I have by not handling my shit. I go, I can't walk. Well, this is a luxury. What the fuck? I should be home. Can't walk with shit.
There's so much non-verbal communication when it comes to our walk, because it's not about the conversation that we have. It's the way we approach the conversation. And a lot of the times when you are probably in that state of frustration with business, the speed of our walk,
it's fast. It's a fast-paced walk. It's like, hurry the fuck up. We're going to get home.
Yeah, it's not the flow. It's like we're walking in the middle of the city. We're hustle bustle, just walking with a purpose. Get in, get out.
Yeah. You can actually tell by the speed of my walk.
Yeah.
I've got 3 speeds. We need to get back home because I'm feeling guilty, and what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like my mind's literally going, oh my God, this is luxury. Oh, I just walk so much every day. I should be like, I honestly should be a slave child in my room right now, just working, right? There's that aspect of me.
Yeah.
There's another aspect of me, which is the slow, lazy walk, like extremely slow.
Almost procrastinative, slow.
I'm almost avoiding the work.
Yeah.
Almost knowing that I've got work, but I don't want to go home and do it.
Yeah.
AKA like this fucking book that I'm writing soon.
Yeah.
And I say soon because I'm procrastinating on it.
And then there's this, I think, somewhere in the middle is this when we're talking about our vision, we're open, we're flowing.
Yes.
And we just have this steady pace to our rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah. And then sometimes O joins in and she starts talking to us as
and
well.
I think part of this, like part of the strategy after, you know, the morning shower and the morning brain shower, getting my thoughts down, resolving issues or conflict inside of my mind, setting my plan up for what I need to get done today. The best thing that I've done ever has been walking with you to not only get exercise in, to not only clear my mind, because walking is amazing for mental clarity, but then to be able to communicate to you what's up and connect. And I don't think in Northgate we actually did a lot of walks together. Number one, because it was just too noisy with all the trams and the people around, and we didn't have any nice places to walk. But now we get to walk along the beach, the hidden pathways in the little forests.
Yeah, we're still finding
here.
new routes to walk.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
So I think on my end, you know, the biggest fear for me is feeling like I have to sacrifice quality time with you and O. Or I feel like I have to sacrifice the business to spend time with you and O. And so I can actually see I didn't get this perspective prior because, you know, when I see other fathers and I go like, don't you have to like, you know, you got to work for your kids. You got to like be a role model. You got to be a leader. You got to get your shit done.
That was the assumption you made.
That was my assumption.
Which is the role of the father is to make money.
The role of a man
to work
is to produce, is to hunt.
Yeah, the sacrifice is to be away from the family.
Yeah, like that's your number one role.
To hire a nanny.
Yeah, to provide, to protect, hunt, and provide, right? And so when I looked at these men that I was coaching, to help them with their businesses, I was like, what are you doing? And little did I understand the actual dilemma that they have going on, which is the dilemma I have now, which is, well, I'm not sure if I really want to work harder because I don't need that much. You start to realize how little you need. You start to realize how what the real important things are, what you really want. And I think for me, like what I want right now, when I truly ask myself, is I want great connection with you and O. I want enough money to buy food, to eat.
Quality food.
I want to be able to pay for a nice roof over my head. And when you actually think back to really our core desires, that's really it. And when you satisfy that level, there's no point in chasing more. And the hardest part is to go from good to great.
I think it really shows the change in your priorities, the fact that you rejected the deal of a lifetime on the Cayenne recently, which was they reduced that price of the car so much. The previous you would have been like, done deal. But this time around, you were like,
well, Keri made a mention. Keri said, you know what, we need a bigger car. And I'm like,
he gets so trigger happy when I'm so like, we need a bigger house, or like we need a bigger car.
When Keri mentions it, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm in on this. What is it? When I mention it, it's like, oh, here's another one of his ideas, right? So as Keri mentions we need a bigger car, I'm like, all right, what do we want? What are we after? And so we need an SUV, and the Tesla was somewhere up there, but
You're not ready for a Tesla.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
It's not cool enough. There's no cool factor yet.
It's cool. It's just I'm not sure about the quality of the car, the brand, the name. You know, so and we just bought it.
AKA, what does your YouTube reviewer say about the car?
AKA, you know, what do other people think of the car really is what I'm gonna buy. And we just bought a new Macan, and it's been nice so far. And Keri says we want something bigger because you're in the back seat. You're getting claustrophobic in the back seat.
To be fair, that's definitely a luxury.
It's my driving, and it is a luxury.
Yeah.
So she says we need a bigger car, and I start looking, and I go to the guy who bought our car, and I look at the car, and I go, hey, what can you do on this car? And now Porsche never like discount. This car's like a $300,000 car. And Porsche's really like, hey, we'll give you like $5,000 off. And I go, no, that's I love deals. Like I'm a deal guy. I will negotiate the deal down.
How much did you negotiate it down?
So I'm like, hey, dude, like we're in a really bad economy right now. We'll do 250. And so they come back and they leave it and they kind of go, no way, we're not going to touch that. And then they call me and then they go, look, can't do 250. We'll trade in your car, but we'll give this to you for 262. And I'm like to Keri, they're 262, Keri. We're at 262 and Keri's like, and I'm like, because we're not really like, I'm not even sure because the car.
Actually, I said get it.
Keri
I
actually
didn't go,
said,
I was like, get
you're
it.
right. You did say get it. And as soon as Keri said get it, I'm like, no, I'm not sure if I want it anymore. There was this weird switch in my brain that said, I'm not sure if I want it.
But that also goes to show, so at the moment we are completely debt free.
Yeah.
This is how good his negotiation skills are, and this is testament to him. We're not actually paying any mortgage on the house right now. He negotiated for us to live in the house for a year, to not pay rent, to not pay a cent of a mortgage or anything like that for the house. So we're literally debt free in lockdown, in COVID, in amongst this whole chaotic world. And so, I mean, adding a car debt wouldn't be that big of a debt,
but
you know what I mean?
it wouldn't be sensible. And
yes,
so,
and you've just become so principle based, honey. This is a bit frivolous of us. Yeah. I'm not going to get the car because I'm putting us in a very irresponsible position.
We could be spending that money to. I mean, look, it just didn't make sense. We already have a brand new car. It's a slightly smaller car, so we'd be paying $250,000 to get just to go from this to this. Literally, like the insides are the same. Yeah. And so I sat there and look, the whole point was he's now calling me and he's happy to go at 250, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want it. And so I think a lot of my values have changed as a father. I think the old me would have gone, you know what, YOLO, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to get ourselves.
And to be fair, I think eventually second baby, I mean, we always want more than one child. So there will be a second baby. Years on, we probably will reconsider the car. And he says, by that time, I will want the car and I will get it when I want the car versus this is such a good deal, I'm going to get it.
And I think the point that we're trying to make, not just on my negotiation skills, but I think when it comes to thinking about priorities and to really play the long game, to not just go, hey, how do we enjoy this time now, but how do we set ourselves up for the next 10 years? And how do we have that conversation of what do we need to do and, you know, not fall into that trap of instantly gratifying ourselves, but going, you know, how do we build a brand? How do we build a business? How do we do something that lasts? And that takes a lot of time and energy. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that cash allows me breathing room, big time. And we talk about all of the creatures that come up in the head in the morning. Half of the time it's worrying about cash flow. It's going, fuck, like we got to get these numbers up. This isn't looking good today. This isn't looking good this week. And so when I have those triggers, it's actually being able to get those thoughts down on paper, tell myself, okay, great, this is not that bad, and then keep pushing forward. And
do you realize that it's not that bad when you put down facts around cash? Or do you go, it's not that bad because you have a solid plan for cash?
Yeah, there's almost two things I can come up with. So as I journal, I sit down and I go, okay, what if I wanted to solve this itch right now, what would I need to do? And is it what I want to do? So I think you and I are trying to build a life that we love. I'm also trying to build an amazing business that I love. I don't want to build a business that simply makes money because it makes money. I want to do something that I'm extremely passionate about first and something that I truly love and with people that I love to work with, as opposed to working with people that I work with because they're paying me money. You know, so and the whole dilemma here has really been going, life's too short. Life's too short to do things that you hate. Life's too short with working with people that you hate or clients that you don't like. There's not enough money in the world to take me away from you and O, you know, really to then go, you know, like 6 months ago, I had to make a decision to go, hey, like I this isn't worth it for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it. The amount of money that I'm getting paid isn't worth it because people get to occupy my mental space and rent out my mental space inside of my head, and I would rather have a clean space for you and O.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you.
And that then becomes, okay, well, if money is a big issue right now, the question is, well, you can go out there and anybody can go out there and make some money. The question is it what you want to do with your time? You can go out there and make some money. You can go out there and do, anybody can. There's opportunity left, right, and center, online, offline, right? But I think if you want to build something, if you want to have the luxury of enjoying something, then you have to spend time building it. And that means that you might not make money now in order to get to the thing that you want to get to later. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not really? She has a not really look. So
that's the thing, right? Because then you have to balance the people that want to do something that they love have to balance, and I'm assuming that they're a parent as well. They have to balance the time they spend building and then the time they spend with their family.
Correct.
And it's setting that boundary up really clear at the start of the day.
Well, I mean, there's what happens is if I look at time, I would rather spend a lot of my time building the business and taking my time to build the business that I love than using my time right now to build a business that I don't love but get paid for it and then never get out of that trap.
Yeah.
Because when the money gets so good, it's hard to escape.
And to your point earlier, I think that you now know that you actually have a lot more time than you used to have.
Yes.
Even though you do less than what you used to do, there's actually a lot more time that you can spend doing the one big thing versus the million small things that don't actually build anything in the future.
Yeah, correct.
They don't have a return on investment of your time.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at in terms of, you know, trying to balance the two.
Yeah.
Trying to go, how do I build an amazing business that I love? And at the same time, how do I get to spend as much time with you and O and immerse myself in it and grow in it and not feel like I'm just watching you guys and it's me. It's me hunting and protecting for you guys, but you guys are just there.
Yeah.
Which is what your dad does. Which is if we go back to this, your dad, you know, he's a perfect role model of what happens when he feels like he's got a responsibility to make money and provide for you and your mum, but he's not in the experience with you and mum.
Yes.
Right? He's like, no, you guys just enjoy. My job is this.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to be here. He's already resigned to that, whereas I'm
that's always saddened me that I've never felt like I've had a father figure in my life, even though I highly, highly respect him. All my life I've always really respected my dad, but then at the same time he's never gone to any of my school events, any of my milestones.
Yeah.
Even to the point of making it to our wedding, it felt like a huge deal for him to come to.
You were like, he was like, on our wedding day, you were like, oh my God, I can't believe my dad's taking a day off.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? It's our wedding. Of course he's going to take a day off.
Yeah, but it's to that level of extreme, like I need to provide, I need to work.
I think that's what I saw in you and you having dad to go, hey, like
Yeah.
You know, you don't have that connection, that bond with him,
Yeah.
that fatherly. You know it's there, and she'll always say, "The bond's there. I know my dad loves me," because she knows that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't ever mention that. Hey, I know it's there, but it feels like you can't have it. You can't have the experience. You can't have both of you guys just sitting down, and I couldn't imagine your dad just giggling with you and just like, you know, enjoying in something with you, not letting you enjoy on your own, him looking out from afar,
Yes.
but him being in the experience, you know?
That's really difficult. It's very sad to imagine.
So I think I see that, and you know, for I want to be selfishly in the experience with her. That's really for me, and at the same time, it will then, you know, she'll have that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to imagine for her to grow up saying, "I know my dad loves me, but I know he has to work and he has to do this, so he's not here."
Well, you could easily be the mum that says, "Oh, sweetie, your dad has to work.
Yeah.
Your dad has to," and you know, she could be there going, "Oh, where's he going? Why is he working all the time?" And it's such rules around. You have to. You don't have to.
What do
Nobody
you
has
want Ocean to learn about the role of a man in a family? The role of her dad, or the role of the dad?
I think I would want her to think of the role of a man as protector, provider, but also the other side to fun and comfort and love. I think protector and provider has been something that I've always believed a role of a man should be, and that's how I was brought up. You gotta look after your family. You gotta make enough money. You gotta look after your kids, and
so
that's
you
what
want
makes you
her
a great
to
man.
know that a man will protect her. Yeah.
I want her to know that she'll be looked after.
Yeah.
That her role is to, you know, reproduce, to have kids, and to nurture those kids, and that's going to take toll on her and her body and her self identity, and that's a big role in itself. But at the same time, I also want her to have a high expectation of a man to go, hey, like, he also needs to fit my emotional needs. Like, he just can't be this guy that makes money, because you know, I see that all too often in men that are hugely successful. They make money, and yet they're hugely unhappy with their relationships and their children, and they don't know what they did wrong. And then when they try to reconnect, it's almost too late, because they've just built up, you know, decades of conditioning and patterns that created the problem in the first place. And it's really hard. Like, the older you get, the harder it is to change, because you've just got so much built up things. So I think from that perspective, that's kind of that's kind of my struggles in terms of, you know, trying every day to be as intentional as possible, and yet every day going, wow, you're failing big time, because I see the world in such a different light. I see everything to be like effort. Like, there's every drop of effort in being upstairs with O and looking after her and playing with her. And then as soon as work gets on, then it's like, wow, like, the time is on, buddy. You gotta write. And if you don't know what to write, fuck, it better be some good shit, because, like, you know, the business is relying on you to grow it right now.
I also see parents who multitask their children with their phone, and I know that a lot of your work can be on the phone, and it's very easy and very seductive in a way to not multitask while you're with Ocean, because I know as soon as she's awake, 100% she needs our energy, and she can feel our energy.
100%.
And when we multitask, she can feel it too. And I think it's when parents, they falsely assume that their children can just play on their own, and that their
kids aren't watching.
Their children aren't watching because they're watching the telly, or they're just playing on their toys. But they can feel the energy, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that you are genuinely 100% with her, because I think that was one of my fears. huge fear. Like it's one thing to not be present with me and to, see a notification on your phone and click into it. It's another thing when I know that if I feel this way, she must feel it 100 times harder because you're all she has in that moment. And she doesn't understand work, Slack notifications, Notion to-do lists and things like that.
Yeah.
And she will just, the one thing that she will think is, do you love me or are you paying attention to me?
No, I agree. I think that was a conscious decision that I made to leave the phone away, like to leave it in the room, to be able to go, hey, during this time, this is a no tech zone. Like if I'm going to watch TV, then we're going to turn on the TV and we're going to watch it together. We're going to choose something together. But this is a no tech zone where I don't go.
The other day she chose Toy Boy
on Netflix. Yeah, and I think that's helped the relationship tremendously. And it was crazy because when you say I was mindless with you, I wouldn't even know. Back in the
yes,
days.
exactly. Yeah.
So Keri keeps score. She kind of says, "Oh, you've been so good you haven't been on your phone." I'm like, I'm never on my phone, like in my mind, right? Like I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? I'm never on my phone.
Yeah.
And she will be able to recall places where I was consciously not aware, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. So now that you know the struggles of the father, what are the biggest struggles that you've had to face being a mother and being Keri and being my wife and being O's mother and being yourself?
I think to start with, the role of a woman that I've been brought up with has never been the role of a mother. And so my mum was a businesswoman and that gave me, I'm the only child, the golden child, the one that was going to make them proud, go to uni, all of that. So she gave me the personality of independent woman, of watching her build a business, thriving, selling the business. And I always thought, wow, this is amazing. Like that's what I want to do as well, because she's this strong leader of a woman and she's so independent. She doesn't even need dad. And, so I never grew up with a mother. On the flip side of that, I never had home cooked meals. I never had a mother to nurture, to just have girly chats with, and the motherly figure. And so I think my presumption going into motherhood was that I would bloody suck at it because I didn't know anything to do with mothering. Neither did my mum, who couldn't give me any guidance.
Yeah, when you
mentoring.
Say you would suck, what do you think you would suck at?
Gosh, I thought of everything like
cooking was a big thing. Yeah,
cooking was a big thing. Not disciplining, but guiding the child, knowing what to do, like saying yes or no, what to say yes or no to.
Versus you thought you would just be easy, and you just thought,
I just thought I would just be chaotic, to be honest, because what I see as a child is screaming and crying, and I don't know what she wants, and dummies.
Like you didn't really think you could drive the car.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because my presumption when I was pregnant was that, cool, first 3 months, I'm going to spend all my 4th trimester with the baby until she realizes she's her own. Once she realizes she's her own, I'll get back to work. Okay, honey, right. I'll be back at work 3 months in after.
Yes.
Count me in.
Who would have looked after the baby? Just your
I didn't think that far.
Okay.
I didn't think that far. I just thought I could do both.
Yeah.
I thought that because we work from home, I pretty much work in the kitchen. Well, it's easy enough for me to go to the stove, cook something, or just breastfeed while I work.
Yeah. Yeah. Whilst you type away on Slack on your iPad.
Totally. And multitask and do all the things that, you know, we don't do now. I didn't think, I also never wanted a nanny. Not because we couldn't afford it or having those thoughts of money. It was because I wanted to do it all on my own because I wanted to be that mother, the businesswoman. I was like, I'm going to be everything all at once.
Would you hire a nanny?
I'm going to.
What are the rules that if you did hire a nanny, would you hire one?
No, I wouldn't.
No,
I wouldn't. I think what happens, like what I imagine when I think about hiring a nanny is there's a separation with the bub, and this word that we've been using this whole week is our family integration. And when O is integrated with us, it would feel wrong to separate her with a nanny who, for one, we'd have to train her for 3 years maybe to live by our values and our lifestyle and our principles, to then guide Ocean with those principles, because otherwise I can just see Ocean being split in the way that she thought, the way that I'm split in the way that I have subconscious patterns that I was raised with my auntie, split with being raised by my mum, who are two very, very different women.
They are very different.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of with this nanny?
With the nanny, with this nanny, that imaginary nanny.
Because you know how much time we would have to ourselves with a nanny.
Yeah, totally.
It'd be free.
I would honestly, the number one key value that I didn't realize that I had until Ocean came out was connection, and connection with her, connection with you.
Okay.
And my biggest fear is that she wouldn't connect. She won't be able to connect with us.
Okay.
And the time that we spend away from her is the diminishing returns of connection.
Right. Because she's more connected to the nanny?
Yeah, the more time that she spends
with someone else. And the nanny's kind of giving into her instant gratifying needs? Or are you afraid of the nanny?
I don't even know, to be honest, because the nanny could either be really disciplinary.
See, I'm afraid.
Or they could be really flexible. So,
yeah.
But basically that's the role of the mother, right? To guide the boundaries of the baby and what it means to be a human.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see, as I do the mother, I'm learning day by day, right? So she sees me as the guide of knowing, hey, is this okay to touch? You know, is this okay to eat? I'd love to eat what you're eating. I'd love to drink what you're drinking.
Yeah.
Things like that I'm guiding her along the way to life.
Like my biggest fear around the nanny would be the nanny giving the nanny's beliefs of how things should be and telling different stories about, you know, when she grows up she should want to do this, and this is what you want to do because this is a good job, or, you know, it's small chit chat that are her beliefs around this is the type of boy that you want to meet. You know, even small remarks like that, like this is the type of boy that you want to meet, which is the nanny's belief, or, you know, this is the type of jobs that you want to get to, or this is the school that you want to go to, or this is the woman, anything that can alter or shape a child's brain, especially when there's so much time spent, and especially when O finds, you know, respect or understands that the nanny is her caretaker. I think that's my biggest fear. It's what if 0 to 7, they're the most absorbent beings in the world. Like a sponge.
They absorb everything like a sponge. Every single moment of energy that we give to them, they're absorbing. So when I give Ocean a sense of energy of fear or anxiety, I remember one time we had a fight and I was crying and she felt me cry, or she saw me cry and she started crying out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, at that time as well, I couldn't put myself together to put her together.
Yeah.
And I knew that, wow, the role of the mother is so important. And the emotional rock of me is so important for the upbringing of Ocean, because if I'm anxious, I, for sure, hands down, I know I will have an anxious baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
And going into motherhood, I had a really, really hard time. Breastfeeding didn't come naturally for Ocean and I. We were bottle feeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even though you didn't feel that connected, you were able to bottle feed. And I do remember at the back of my mind, I enjoyed that because I thought that's actually a time for you guys to connect to. When you bottle fed her one time, I would pump and then we would feed her the milk that I pump out.
What's been your favorite thing to do with her?
Oh my gosh, every moment
thing to do with her.
Every moment is my favorite, but it's breastfeeding.
Is it breastfeeding?
Yes, I love breastfeeding her.
Okay.
I love breastfeeding her so much that
you're not going to have a second child because
breastfeeding is a natural conception, a contraception.
Yeah, it's conception. It is a natural conception as well. It's a natural contraception. Is it?
It is a natural contraception because it tells my body that I still need to care for a little one, that it's not ready to produce another little one.
Right, okay.
Yep, so it's a natural contraception, which
so
is
why... So if you don't breastfeed, you're ready to have another baby?
For sure, earlier,
okay.
a lot
if
earlier.
I was on formula,
yes,
you'd be pregnant now.
Yes. With the way that we do it, yes.
Okay, so...
yes,
I just got that
guaranteed.
One. Like, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So breastfeeding's your favorite, is it? It's your favorite. This is going a little bit different, guys. We'll have to switch this podcast off. So why is it? Because she gives you the cutest and the cheekest. Is it the connection with her in that moment in time, like looking down at her little squirtle eyes? I call it Squirtle.
Yes, it's very, very intimate.
This is our little Squirtle.
Breastfeeding is very intimate. There's something amazing about the female body. I mean, we produce milk, which...
Keri was totally shocked when her body produced. She's like, I produce milk. Like, this is amazing.
I know. Our midwife the first time expressed me and colostrum or milk came out. Yeah. And we were like, whoa! It was amazing.
You know what? The very first time you had colostrum, it was almost like a big pimple popping. Like it was that's
kind of what like a pimple.
Yeah, that's kind of what like I was like, oh my God, she's really going in there for that little head.
I don't want to say pus, but like, it was like.
But it was really like, it was colostrum.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and yeah.
Okay, so breastfeeding's your favorite because
my favorite because it's so special, and I know it's not going to last forever. I'm not in a rush to wean her away from breastfeeding, and I think that's one of the fortunate things that we have working from home.
Yeah.
I say what's your least I'm just favorite? Being at home.
What's your least favorite?
Feeding her.
But not breastfeeding her, but feeding her food?
Feeding her real food. If I could put her on my breast, I would just do it all the time until she was 5. But feeding is a skill for both her and I, because I think on the one hand, when I watch her feeding, I see her struggling to swallow, to chew. She doesn't have teeth yet still. And so the whole practice of feeding is a real thing, and for me as well, because I would say to you, if I had all the time in the world, and this is my limitations of time, I would just feed her whenever she was hungry. Yeah. Just fully like mouth.
It really stresses you out. Mouth full. Like I've seen this many times. It's like a boxing ring. Like it's a boxing match because I will be
Mama versus Ocean.
Like you would feed her, and then I was like taking food out of her mouth and giving it to Bella, and like screaming and punching her hair and pulling her hair out because she's just like, I don't want any more. But she'll eat because then you tend to find gaps, and it's a really stressful thing for all mums.
Yeah.
Look, feeding their
I'm
baby.
I'm just going through this as a learning process, because there are moments in time where I think, right, I'm actually learning about this. When I switch my mindset of why aren't you eating to, hey, what can I learn from this? I begin to observe. When I come from a non-judgmental place, I'm observing. And when I observe her, I recognize, right, maybe she's not as hungry today, like you say. Maybe she's just not hungry. And then I'll be able to check the next day on her poo. Okay, she's not just not hungry because she's not pooing. And then that, you know, it does take time. It's very, very intuitive. And sometimes I don't get it right.
Correct. And it can be very upsetting. I think you've done a great job at not getting yourself too riled up, even though there are always moments. But the root cause of all unhappiness is perspective, right? So
it's expectations.
It's expecting Ori to eat and having rules. And if those rules get broken, that's when you get unhappy.
Yeah, I realize when I'm like, oh, she's going to eat at this time. So when I feed her at that time, I expect her to eat.
Correct.
But she's like, I'm not hungry. I'm like, excuse me?
well, then because you know it bleeds into the rule of sleeping. She's going to sleep later. And then during the night, she's going to wake up and feed, and then you're not going to get a good night's sleep, and then she's not going to get a good night's sleep, and then it affects the morning. And it's just all of these rules and scenarios that create such a confined space so that when she doesn't feed, it really causes a lot of stress on both of you.
Yeah, there's consequences.
It's not stressful for you just alone. It's stressful for her. And I look at her and I go, this poor little thing, she's really like, she's telling you she doesn't want to eat.
Yeah, she doesn't know. And that's the thing. Like, I expect her to know because she's done it for the last 4 months.
Sometimes
but really,
she forgets. She forgets how to eat.
Totally, she does. And
she forgets how to walk. She forgets how to crawl.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about
genuinely,
her forgetting how to crawl.
Sometimes forgets.
Like she just goes, how did I do that again?
Yeah. It's so genuine and it's so innocent. And I'm not I'm not judging her for her lack of eating. It's just that I know what happens and the consequences of her waking up through the night. I know the consequence of her energy. And on our walks, like we would walk for 30 minutes and all of a sudden she's like, grizzly.
She gets grizzly.
Yeah, we say grizzly.
Grizzly is the best word.
And she's like, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry. And then she'll try and eat our fingers and things like that.
What's, just off topic slightly, like what do you then think is the biggest struggle for yourself? Like Keri, like your identity? Because, you know, generally with mums, I think it's so often it's easy to see that when you become a mum, you give up your own aspirations, your own dreams, and now you immediately just go, all right, I'm a mum. I look after my baby and that's all I am. I'm a boob.
Yeah. It's interesting because I wonder if people wear that as a badge of honor. Like I've sacrificed so much for my family. I've given up all of my dreams, my aspirations, my career.
And at the time, they're so happy to do so. It's just when the kids come 16, they leave the house. That's when all the divorces happen. You know, when you go, oh my God, I hated you, right? To your husband that you hated because you're like, I sacrificed my whole entire life. I'm left with nothing. And that's when they really feel empty.
Yeah. Do
you feel that?
No, I don't feel empty, no. But my struggle going back to the figure of the independent woman, I've always prided myself in splitting the bill.
Have you?
Or paying for the bill.
Right.
As well.
Even better.
Yeah, I know, right? It's great for the guy.
For
for the fine dining bill. Yeah, you pay. And so going from that to making nothing overnight and even working in the company, like I was a salesperson. You were
everything.
Yeah, like I felt value.
Yeah.
You know.
But now that you got nothing.
Now that I make nothing,
how does that,
and I have a very expensive hobby of fragrances.
Yeah, how does that and exactly? Has that affected like How does that affect you and kind of your own, does it affect your own ego? Does it affect your own identity? Does it make you feel guilty?
Yeah, it's my ego a lot.
Yeah.
And
does it make you feel vulnerable?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Because my mum, what my mum taught me the most was never rely on a guy.
Yeah.
And I think most people that I've dated have really appreciated the fact that I was independent. Did you appreciate that I was independent?
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
No,
Interesting.
I wanted you to be the new, the stay-at-home wife.
I think I've had the opposite experience where I think a lot of guys that interested or dated have appreciated the fact that I was independent.
Okay.
And I've really appreciated the fact that I was independent because then I didn't have to think about what they did as a career. Like I didn't even know how much you made for the first 3 years.
Yeah, you bought a house with me and you didn't know how much I made.
Exactly. So like there was just always this notion of I've got it handled, you know?
Yeah. It's my house. If you don't pay, it's mine.
Yeah, like I'll buy your half. It's fine.
I'll buy you out.
But now I don't have money and I don't have
the way you said it, I don't have money.
I'm not making money. I'm not thinking about going back to work at any stage.
Okay, why not? Have you thought about it?
I have.
Okay.
And just like you, when you weigh up the priorities of the car or ocean or family, I have to be honest with myself because if it is work that I do want to do, then the nanny has to be an option, right? But I genuinely...
There's no nanny.
When I've thrown myself into motherhood, it's been the thing for me.
Okay.
It's been the thing that I want to do through and through.
Yeah.
I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to be with Ocean.
Yeah.
And that integration that we have, it sacrifices my money. But
money is such an ego. It's such a power play, isn't it?
It is power.
It's power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money is power.
Money is power.
And when it's so almost liberating to not be owned by it, to go, hey, like I'm not gonna play that game anymore. My game's knowing what I really want, and what I really want is I want to be a mother.
Yeah, I do. I really want to be a mother because I have struggled with the thought of not making money a lot. Ever since I left my job to be in the company, I think I struggled with that. But now
I think it's vulnerability, isn't it?
Yeah, it
or
is.
not standing on your own 2 feet, almost going.
Yeah, so I do understand when single mums don't have the capacity, and how could you have the capacity to be an amazing mum who's there 24/7 versus the stay-at-home mum 24/7. I think it's just the mindset that I have of being the best that I can with what I have with Ocean, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, being 24/7 or being a stay-at-home mum doesn't mean that I don't spend my Sundays on my run. And it doesn't mean that I don't have my self-care and my self-time, because I always ask for it. I ask for what I need. But it's also, the main thing is I'm being the best that I can in that moment for Ocean. And that not necessarily has rules. It just has this flow and intuition and connection with her. That's what I want. That's what I want most out of anything, more than money.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. I think that's the same struggle, you know, trying to start to go, well, like Ocean is our life, and you know, she's the heart of our life, that it almost can make you feel like you're complacent because you almost feel like, wow, is this all I need? Surely this is not all I need, but really it really is all that you need.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you that says, no, but I should have more.
Yeah.
I should be more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I can see how, you know, some men, some women can almost just settle and be content with their life the way it is. And I can see how others just continually like they still pursue their careers because it's so strong in their identity they don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
But then they sacrifice the connection with the children.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're striving for, right? It's the integration of both, of having it all.
It's trying to figure out how to have both.
Yeah, it's going, I'm going to be the best in that area with that boundary of time.
Yeah.
And I want to be the best in this area of family with our boundary of time.
Yeah.
And the balance of the two is difficult.
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding.
It is. And it requires teamwork.
Yeah, totally.
It requires teamwork. And if you were to ask me what would I do as a single dad, I'm like, I would hire a nanny and Ocean would be sleeping in the cot and I'd be getting some shit done. But I would then naturally feel like, you know, if you were a single mum, you'd work, you'd have your own career, things would be different. But I really feel as an integrated family, you have your strengths, you have your superpowers, and yours is, you know, really giving Ocean the love and attention and being the rock for me, because it requires so much patience to listen to what goes on inside of my brain, especially when I haven't had a brain shower, you know. So it's definitely a team play, and yet at the same time, me appreciating you for everything that you do, and not say, but you're just home all day. What have you done?
Yeah, I'm like the total modern housewife who can't cook. I don't clean. RoboCop does more cleaning than I do.
RoboCop's the robot vacuum.
I just truly can say that I am there with Ocean.
Yeah.
And that Ocean is my priority. And that's not an excuse to not do any of the other things. It's just that who am I cooking for? I'm cooking for Ocean. And does she like my food? That's what matters. I'm not going to say that I'm the most amazing cook to other people and then Ocean doesn't eat my food, so I'm offended by Ocean not liking my food. I'd rather just be simple, be connected, be fully holistic with you guys and being flexible, you know, and going what are the dynamics of us versus what is the dynamic of a housewife, because I've just taken on this role of a housewife.
Yeah.
Technically I am.
Yeah.
But I'm a modern housewife who doesn't do any of this stuff. I also don't watch TV, so then you ask me what am I doing? So I'm like, I do Ocean.
What's the biggest lesson you've had this week?
My biggest lesson?
Yeah, I want to wrap up this podcast with Keri's biggest lesson of the week. Mother Keri.
This might open a can of worms, but my biggest lesson is that I have to be super, super aware of my triggers at Ocean, because that she's becoming very super cheeky and she spits her food. She will sometimes cry on top of her lungs to not eat. And there is this tiny little monster inside of me that thinks, you little brat. And there is a split moment where I'm like, I could hit you right now.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, that's a can of worms, right? And nothing eventually happens. The next moment is, gosh, like, woman, you need to be more patient because this girl is still learning. She's only had 11 months in the world. Who do you think she is? And who do you think you are, expecting so much from her? So I then pull myself together again and I go, I need to be more patient. I need to be a way, way more patient. The older she gets, the more patient I need to be.
Yeah.
Because the more she learns, or the more she's learning and growing and testing boundaries and learning how to be cheeky, learning how to spit, you know, like you got to learn how to spit. It's not just, it doesn't come naturally.
A waterfall, a food waterfall. Right.
And so I I get that, and I just have to pull myself together. And it's the momentary awareness that I have when things don't go my way.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful lesson. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for this podcast episode number
Numero 4.
4. The struggles of a man and a woman. Please leave a comment and, of course, subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions to ask us, comment down below. Let us know. We'll see you next week on the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in.